We have Barrister Evans back on the line now to continue the conversation. Thank you for joining us once again. I was asking about we have the conversation on the ban on open grazing and how there's a report that Garba Shehu has made a statement on behalf of the presidency and called the act one of politicking. What do you make of that statement?
The position of the law is quite very clear on the issue of a movement of persons, and the movement of persons is guaranteed. But the movement of persons to destroy the properties of others is not guaranteed under the Constitution. That is not the intentment of the Constitution. So I think that perhaps the presidency should look into the utterances of Garba Shehu, who is working at cross purpose with whatever it is the government wants to do in the country. The government of Buhari came as a result of the vote. Nigerians gave him that mandate, okay? And I think that the president should speak more to Nigerians than assign Garba Shehu, who does not understand the law, who does not understand the premise and the tenets of principles of law, to address Nigerians making statements that are unconstitutional and illegal. Let's have a government that can give a human face to administration, that can understand the plight of the people, that will understand that the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government, that the reason the government exists is to ensure that the people are secured and their welfare is guaranteed. Anything outside that is not the business of government. The business of government sovereignty belongs to the people. So if you have a situation where there is an albatross, there's a cankerworm through banditry, insecurity, kidnapping, raping, mamming that is coming from a particular quarter because they are nomadic in nature and they have to move across the length and breadth of the country, destroying people's property. If we have that, then we need a consensus like the Southern governors did to ban that particular activity such that we're able to nip it in the bud and tame their excess. A tribe cannot be more than the entire country. It's not possible. So it is high time we understood the import of their Sabbath declaration. Their Sabbath declaration is even to the advantage of Northerners. Their Sabbath declaration is even to, because the Northerners are the worst hit in this whole insecurity matter. They have been completely destroyed by their own forces. So their Sabbath declaration, what I think should be done is that the Northern governors to partner with the Southern governors on this declaration, and then see that the intent and purpose of the governors is to ensure that insecurity is completely exterminated. That is what a government should do, and not to begin to cut down the good intentions of governors who want to secure their people, who want to create parameters and devices to secure the citizens of their state.
So thank you for that well-detailed analysis. But we still know that, considering the fact that there's been a debate and there's been no resolution yet, do you think bringing the Land Use Act of 1978, which is an act that vests the power of a territory to the governor of the state, do you think bringing it into the forefront now would help resolve this issue?
Of course, a law that is subsisting. It is part of our laws. It's in the laws of the Federation. Now, let me shock you. This same Land Use Act was passed by the federal government, okay, in 1978, was passed by the federal government. Now, the federal government then empowered the governors of their respective states in line with the principles of federalism, such that the governors can now hold this land in trust for the people. But when the federal government now wanted to create issue of ranching, they will now decide on a policy through a policy called Ruga that failed, that these governors should give land to people. For Christ's sake, this open grazing, this grazing business is a private business. It's not a government business. Individuals own this cattle, and individuals are the ones that are grazing through the length and breadth of Nigeria. What is expected of them is to make sure that they invest in their own business. They can come to the south without their cattle, negotiate with the state to give them a place, and then that place will be curtailed and concealed. Then they can bring in their cattle to have a ranch and then pay for the land, pay for the resources. Because if you look at it, those who have businesses in the north and the up north pay for those facilities they use in doing their businesses. So why should you be grazing through the length and breadth of the south just because you feel that there is freedom of movement? Freedom of movement does not extend to destruction of property, does not extend to killing and the obstruction of legal businesses across the country. Your own right to swing your hand ends where another man's right to defend his nose begins. So if your own freedom of movement is to obstruct other people, other persons can also bring an action for trespass. They can also bring an action for disturbing civil and public peace. So I think that this is a very simple thing. We already have legislations that empower the state to manage that. So the decision of the state or the region supersedes every other consideration that is illegal. Let's stick to what these governors have put forward, because it's even for the good of those who think it is against them. They have not sat down and think really deeply about the Asaba Declaration. The Asaba Declaration is to ensure that the security and welfare of the people is guaranteed, as is stated in Section 14.2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Anyone who is against that is working against Nigeria, is working against progress, is working against prosperity. What we need now is a secure Nigeria, is a one Nigeria, is a Nigeria that is unified, a Nigeria that is unified for the purposes of creation of wealth and prosperity. That is what we need. Any ideology that stands against that, any ethnic, tribal, or whatever ideology that stands against that principle is therefore null and void, as it is unconstitutional and in contravention with the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Okay, so earlier on you talked about the southern and northern governors coming together in this regards to fight insecurity. Now, if that particular strategy or method doesn't work or isn't adopted by these governors, what else do you think the presidency can resort to solve this issue at this time?
Well, whatever the presidency wants to do about it is up to them. It's up to them. If they want to help this private business cattle headers to get land elsewhere in the up north or whatever, fine, they can do that. But as far as the South is concerned, there is a unity of purpose. And then the House of Assembly are already enacting legislation to ban open grazing. So what I think the federal government should do to collaborate with the state governors and then have them create a policy where these persons who own these businesses can come into the state to negotiate and then pay for parcel of land and then get land assigned to them on the basis of rent. So they become tenants in those space. So where they are tenants and they pay their rent, they can graze within a curtailed area, within area that is, segmented as a ranch. Okay, so the state will also generate funds from that to add to the IGR, and then the businesses will thrive because it's going to be a win-win situation in that case. But where they want to come in by force or against lay down laws and the principles, and then take on to destruction and then raping people, destroying their properties. That is what the South is against. The South is not openly against the business of cattle rearing per se. They are only against the open grazing, which opens up a room for a destruction, which opens a room for trespass and then for conflict and insecurity in the land, which the federal government have not been able to manage. So that is why the federal government must, as a matter of necessity, partner with the state governors. It is important Now, when they partner with the state governor, it is the state governors will not draw up a guideline which the businessmen in the business of cattle rearing will adopt. And then we're going to have a win-win situation. The Southerners need beef too. Okay, they need the products, okay, from the north. And then the Northerners also need the feed from the south. So we need synergy. We need collaboration. That is how country grow. What you have, I do not have. I give what I have, and then you, in exchange that you give what you have. Then we're able to trade, we're able to prosper, we're able to grow. But where you now have distractors, okay, people who do not want the good of this country coming into center stage to distort, the security architecture of this country and expose Nigerians, women, children, and everyone to the hazards of criminality, banditry, kidnapping, and or the whole host of violence, then a sensible and civil and forceful government cannot sit down and watch that happen under their watch. They have to take a decision. They have to make a decision. The country belongs to every Nigerian. The country does not belong to one ethnic group. So this decision to make sure that everyone is secured and then the security and welfare of the people is guaranteed is the reason behind the Southern governor's action.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Barrister Evans. Quickly, let's jump on another conversation now. We have it here as federal government and Delta states differ on £4.2 million Ibori loot payment. Now, earlier on, when the conversation of this Ibori loot came up, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, said the funds would not be given to Delta State, but would rather be used for federal government projects. However, the Accountant General of the Federation, in person of Ahmed Idris, said the money has been released to Delta State, and he made a comparison with the fact that when a particular money was also repatriated in Plateau State, it was returned back to the government, and this should not be different. However, there has been a clash between the federal government and Delta State. I'd like to have your opinion on this particular issue.
Yes, when it broke out 2 months ago, we came up with the League of Ndopa Professionals, where I serve as the publicity secretary. We came out with a press conference to explain the fact that this funds does not belong to the federal government, because if you look at section 162 of the Constitution, 162, 164 of the Constitution, it clearly says that any money standing in the credit of the state government to the federal government must be deployed to the state government. Now, the state government, the Delta State government, I am from Delta State, so I am talking from the point of knowledge. The Delta State government earned this money through their revenue allocation from the federal government and the 13% derivation they get, and then from their IGR and other legal means of income, including loans from banks. Now, this fund was looted during the Ibori administration and then taken outside. Then after his conviction in the UK, some of these funds were traced to relatives of his. And then the British government came up with that proposal. The Attorney General of the Federation went ahead and then signed an MOU with the British government to have the money used for the Kanu Abuja Road, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, and then the second Niger Bridge. The moment that was made public 2 months ago, we came up and said, no, that is wrong. We wrote a reaction note to the Attorney General, and then we went to court. I particularly went to the Federal High Court, and I have a pending suit against the Attorney General, the Federal Executive Council, the Ministry of Finance, the Accountant General of the Federation. Now, when we filed this, we filed the suit. Immediately after we filed the suit, we had not gotten a date when Jusun went on strike. So while we were watching that, the government of the Britain released the fund, and then the Attorney General made the same statement again, that fund will not be sent to the Delta State government, that it can only be deployed to the purpose for which the agreement was signed. And then we began to write articles and then statements to agitate and advocate for that fund to be returned. Only yesterday, I got the news that the funds have been returned to Delta State. And that is the right thing to do. That is the right thing to do because equity and justice demands that. You see, when the funds of Bayelsa State government were laundered by the late Cyprian Alamesia, the former governor of Bayelsa State, the funds were released back to the Bayelsa State government. In Plateau State, the same thing happened. When it got to Delta State, the Attorney General intercepted it and went to sign some frivolous agreement. What the British government wants to ensure is that these funds is used for the development of the people. But he went to sign that agreement. That agreement has not been subjected to domestication, according to Section 12, Subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution, which says that every agreement, every treaty, and all that is signed between Nigeria and other countries, bilateral or multilateral, must be subjected to the National Assembly for ratification. That has not been done. So we brought the action on the basis of that if this fund is used for the federal government project as was stated, it is illegal, it is unconstitutional, it is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. We stated that. And now they have complied and the funds have been returned to Delta State. I think this is the way to go. A government must understand that the municipal laws and the international laws on this matter are in favor of the Delta State government. And I think that it is of great wisdom that money was sent back to the coffers of the Delta State government. And then as for the Delta State government, we are going to ensure, we are going to monitor that fund and ensure that the money is used for the purposes of the development of the good people of Delta State, that such fund is not relooted, that such fund must be deployed to the areas in that country that needs development. If you go to Delta State, a lot of areas like where I came from in Ndokwa, the areas are not developed because under the Bori government, the funds, the public funds that belongs to Delta State were largely mismanaged. And because they were largely mismanaged, you go there, you cannot find public health care facilities, you cannot find good water, you cannot find roads, you cannot find light and the rest of it. People are suffering, living under high tension poverty because of the kind of leadership we have had in the past in Delta State. So I think it's a good one for the federal government. I commend the federal government for taking that decision to that effect. And we will see to it. We'll wait a while and see how it goes before we decide on what to do with the suit we file in court to this effect.
Okay, thank you so much, Barrister Evans, for that in-depth explanation and analysis on the issue of the Ibori loot. And we are hopeful and we trust that transparency would play through in the course of the disbursement of the funds. Thank you so much for joining us on Newspaper Review this morning. It was nice having the conversation with you. Do have a beautiful day.
Thank you.